are listening to the most comprehensive paranormal archive on the internet.
Welcome to Salsido Paranormal. I'm your host, James Salsido, and tonight I'm covering haunted places in the U.S. As always, you can find all episodes of the show along with links to social media, ways to listen, and ways to support the show at the website, and that is salsidoparanormal.com. That's SALSIDO paranormal.com. Support is never expected, but always appreciated, as there are expenses in making these shows, and there are many ways to support the show. You can share the show with others, and rate and review it on your favorite podcast platform. You can sign up for the Patreon feed and get all the extra content there for as little as $1 a month. You can also check out the merchandise store and get all kinds of shirts with some other items as well, with designs made by friends of the show. Please follow friends of the show, including Jen, the Arcane Observer, who has her own channel, but also is the co-host of this show with me on Saturdays when she's able to join me. And Ricky of the Anything Is Possible podcast, which he does a paranormal themed show on Sundays. And I sit in on those, I co-host in those. And also Michael Strange, host of Troubled Minds Radio. I can't talk. I can, but it's hard. And which I call into frequently, and also the Troubled Minds Radio Network, KUAP, Digital Broadcasting, where you can hear all kinds of amazing shows, as well as my own, online, 24/7 for free. So a couple of notes here as we get started. How this works is I find out about locations, just do a quick search for a handful of locations in each state, maybe a couple handsful of locations in each state. This is not a comprehensive list. That would take forever. So this is just maybe around 10 or so places in each state in the U.S. And I find a couple of articles on each location, and then I get a summary generated based on all that, and share the links to the articles in the episode description, so you can check out more information than what I get to cover on the show, and check out pictures as well and images. Also, please, if you're thinking that you'd like to visit any of these locations I talk about on these shows, make sure that it is currently okay to do so. Find out when and how and where to go to visit these places, because I do not recommend trespassing for any reason. Because if you've ever read an article online, you know that they're released on a certain day, and the information can become inaccurate for the present day over time. So just always like to let everyone know it's a good idea to do that before you just try to go to a place that might not be available, that might not be open to visitors. Some places are not. I've had a handful in this series where they're not really open to anyone anymore for various reasons. So, moving on here to the actual places. We are in the state of Mississippi as of now. So in the first location I have here to cover is the McRaven House in Vicksburg. And this is a layered frontier to Victorian home built in 3 major phases: 1797, 1836, 1849, known both as a Civil War site and as one of the state's most famously haunted houses. Early Frontier House. The earliest section was built around 1797 by Andrew Glass, Glass, when the area was still called Walnut Hills, rather than Vicksburg. Glass is remembered in local lore as a highwayman who robbed travelers along the Natchez Trace. I'm not sure how to say that exactly. I will mispronounce things, unfortunately. I apologize for that in advance, because words and names are hard. And used the little two-room house as a hideout, returning there with stolen goods. Stories say his death was sudden and murky. Some versions claim his own wife betrayed him, and guides today often link one of the more hostile male presences in the house to Glass's restless spirit. Howard era and antebellum expansion, 1836. In 1836, the property was bought by Sheriff Stephen Howard, who added a middle section in Greek Revival style and moved in with his teenage wife. That's lovely. Mary Elizabeth Howard, I do mean that sarcastically. Mary Elizabeth died in August of 1836 at about age 15, shortly after childbirth, in an upstairs bedroom. Many of her personal belongings, including her wedding shawl, are still displayed in that room. This middle level, frozen in time with her period furnishings, is often described as the emotional center of both the historical and the paranormal narratives told on tours. Bob, and that's B-O-B-B, Ownership and Civil War Hospital, 1849 to 1860s. Around 1849, brick manufacturer and planter John H. Bob purchased the home and added the most elaborate wing, usually described architecturally as Empire or Late Greek Revival, creating the three-era time capsule seen today. That's time capsule in quotation marks there. During the 1863 siege of Vicksburg, McRaven, then commonly called the Bob House, served as a Confederate field hospital and campsite close to the railroad and within range of Union and Confederate artillery. The house sustained damage from cannon fire, but remained standing. In 1864, after the city's capture, Union cities fatally shot Bob about 100 yards from the house following an altercation over his treatment of troops, adding another violent death to the property's history. Murray family and long decline, late 19th to 20th century. After Bob's death, the house eventually passed to William Murray and his family. Multiple Murray family members, including William's wife, Ellen, and at least two of their children, reportedly died in the house between the late 1800s and early 1900s. By the early 20th century, only two daughters, Ellie and Anna Murray, were left. They lived reclusively, allowed the grounds to grow over, and rarely admitted visitors, which helped cement McRaven's local reputation as the town haunted house, in quotation marks there. Property remained in the Murray line until about 1960, after which preservation-minded owners began stabilizing and restoring the structure rather than demolishing it. Modern restoration and tours. McRaven is listed on the National Register of Historic Places under its Civil War era name, the Bob House, and is often promoted as Vicksburg's most haunted mansion or Mississippi's most haunted home. Excuse me. In 2015, it was purchased by Dr. and Mrs. Reed, who reopened it to the public with daytime history tours and nighttime ghost tours and investigations. The house now functions as a combined historic site and paranormal attraction with a focus on preserving each of the three architectural periods as a walkthrough timeline. Reported hauntings, key spirits. Guides usually describe at least a dozen regular resident spirits, but the most frequently mentioned are Mary Elizabeth, Andrew Glass, John Bob, and several unidentified soldiers and family members. Um, I was just trying to, for a second, I wasn't sure if I was coming through, but I am. Reports, let's see, I lost my spot. Thanks to that. That's okay. Happens. Reports range from full-bodied apparitions to disembodied voices and and footsteps, temperature drops, object movement, and unexplained touches, especially in the stairwells and bedrooms linked to deaths. Mary Elizabeth Howard. Mary Elizabeth is described as the house's most active and recognizable spirit, often seen as a young woman in different period outfits, from a dark mourning, and that's Mouring, dress, to a lighter ball gown. Visitors and staff report soft touches, tugging on clothing, the feeling of a hand in theirs, the scent of floral perfume, and occasional female laughter or sobbing near her former bedroom and along the stairs. Civil War soldiers and hospital energy. Because McRaven served as a Confederate field hospital during the siege, many accounts focus on soldier spirits and residual battlefield impressions in the upstairs rooms and yard. Guests and investigators describe shadowy figures in uniform, sounds of boots and moans, and unusually heavy or oppressive atmosphere in spaces associated with surgery and recovery. Andrew Glass and darker presences. The rough frontier history tied to Andrew Glass feeds stories of a more aggressive male entity, said to manifest as slamming doors, harsh knocks, and an overwhelming feeling of hostility in the oldest rooms. Some tour narratives connect this presence to legends that Glass died violently after a robbery went wrong, that he took his own, that he died when cornered. John Bob, the Murrays, and other household ghosts. A male figure, thought to be John Bob, is said to appear near windows and on the grounds, sometimes associated with reenacted gunshots, phantom running footsteps, or a sense of sudden panic outside the house. Apparitions and subtle activity are also attributed to William Murray, his wife Ellen, and the reclusive daughters Annie and Ella, whose spirits are said to linger protectively over furniture and objects they live with for decades. Common experiences and investigation notes. Staff and guests report photographs with unexplained figures, electronic voice phenomena, that is where you do not hear a voice with your own ears, but one comes through on the recording somehow, and light anomalies captured both during public tours and private investigations. Sensitive spots frequently mentioned include, that's a funny, interesting phrase, include Mary Elizabeth's bedroom, the stairways, the Civil War hospital areas upstairs, and parts of the yard uh, where uh, spot, where some believe mass soldier burials may be located within a short distance of the house. And so that's it for that location. That's a lot there going on. Sounds like a lot of history. I mean, 1797. That does make it over 200 years old. That at least the very earliest part of that property, that construction there. So it doesn't surprise me. Not that age necessarily has to dictate paranormal activity, but it doesn't hurt. It doesn't seem like it hurts to have that sort of going on there. Also, the times that, I mean, that those are, you're talking about the beginning of sort of the nation as it became, the U.S. In the late 1700s. There, you're talking about the Civil War, a lot of things, a lot of sort of, I guess you could say, important, but also violent and emotionally charged times there to have additions made to the property, or the property constructed, and then an addition made to the property as well. The next location here is Stuckey's, and that's Stuckey Bridge. And this is an early 1900s iron truss bridge. Now, 1900s, that's not that far back, relatively speaking. Iron truss bridge over the Chunky River? That's odd. Southwest of Meridian, Mississippi. Famous both for its documented history and for a persistent legend that gives rise to the site's hauntings. The modern haunting story centers on Old Man Stuckey, in quotation marks there, an innkeeper and alleged outlaw, who supposedly lured travelers to their deaths, and who was killed on the bridge, after which his ghost is said to stalk the span of the bridge with a lantern. Historical background. Excuse me. A wooden bridge and stage road crossed the Chunky River at this site by about 1850, providing a southwest route in and out of the growing rail town of Meridian. In 1901, the Virginia Bridge and Iron Company built the current steel steams through truss span, 112 feet long, which later received recognition as a Mississippi landmark in 1984 and was added to the National Register of Historic Places in 1988. The bridge lies on an isolated gravel road about 10 to 12 miles southwest of Meridian, near the community of Enterprise, and is now closed to vehicles, used mainly by locals, curiosity seekers, and paranormal investigators on foot. The original 1850s crossing and road served stagecoaches and river trade along the Chunky, where small inn and ferry operations would have been common in the mid-19th century. The legend of Old Man Stuckey. According to local lore, a man known as Old Man Stuckey, sometimes said to be a former member of the Dalton Gang, settled near the bridge site sometime in the mid to late 1800s and opened a small inn on the stage route by the river, At night, he reportedly stood on the bridge with a lantern, hailing flatboats and small craft coming down the Chunky and offering travelers, a hot meal and bed at his inn. The dark turn of the story is that Stuckey drugged or bludgeoned his guests as they slept, stole their money and goods, and disposed of the bodies along the riverbank or in the water below. Some retellings claim he killed, in quotation marks, over 20, in quotation marks, people before locals connected a pattern of disappearances to his inn, leading to his capture. Hanging of Stuckey and supposed discovery of victims. Now this is important here. It's saying supposed, and again it's saying this is a legend of this old man Stuckey. Many versions agree that once suspicion fell on Stuckey, a sheriff's posse arrested him, and he was tried and sentenced to hanging at the very bridge used to lure victims. One detailed strand of the legend says his body was left dangling from the bridge for 5 days as a warning before the rope was cut and his corpse dropped into the Chunky River. Another widely repeated embellishment holds that when the Iron Truss Bridge was built in 1901, workers uncovered human remains along the banks or in the riverbed, believed to be Stuckey's victims, confirming the old stories. This discovery detail appears in folklore and popular accounts rather than formal historical records, but it seemingly fuels the modern haunting narrative attached to the structure. And we're gonna try to get through this as quickly as we can because we don't have much time left. Reported hauntings. Typical ghost reports at Stuckey's Bridge include apparitions of an old man with a lantern walking the bridge on the river's edge, often described as searching for new victims, just as in life. The visitors also describe hearing a loud splash from beneath the bridge, interpreted as the moment Stuckey's body hit the water, or seeing what looks like a body hanging from the trusses when no one is there. Other experiences include claims of disembodied voices, an eerie blue light or glow where his corpse supposedly disappeared beneath the surface, and general feelings of dread or being watched while crossing the span at night. Local lore also warns that some visitors feel phantom pushes or tugs, as if someone unseen is trying to send them over the side, as Stuckey once did to his guests. So there's more here, but it's mostly on the folklore. It's fascinating, as always, how you have these accounts of stories that have no historical evidence to them, and yet there are reports of paranormal activity at these places that are used to describe the apparitions that are seen there, the activity that's experienced there, and to explain it. And yet, again, there's no historical evidence to back any of it up. But yet the activity is still there. Anyway, that's all the time we have for this episode. Thank you all for listening, and I'll talk to you all next time on Salsido Paranormal. Take care.